Hello, everyone. This is Saad from Pakistan, and today I'll be explaining you how to get started with Strapi, and we will also compare Strapi with other traditional CMS. So let's get started. A very short introduction about me. I'm a backend developer at Scale, and we are migrating from the Magento ecosystem towards the Strapi ecosystem. And this is what I do. It's all about JavaScript, Node.js. So feel free to reach out and ask me anything about Strapi or any other related stuff regarding the development, and I'll be happy to answer. So in this short time, we will be discussing about what is Strapi, what are traditional CMS, what is a headless CMS. We will see very quickly how we can use Strapi and how to deploy Strapi. So, what is Strapi? So, Strapi is a flexible open source headless CMS. We'll explain what is a headless CMS, and actually, it gives us, the developers, the freedom to make our own collections, make our own content types, design them. Uh, we will get out of the box the REST APIs. We'll have plugins, and there are lots of stuffs which we can do in Strapi. I'll explain it down the road. And what the main power it's giving is the editors to manage their content easily rather than using the old school traditional CMSs and managing pages. Everyone knows that how hectic that can be. So Strapi actually eases the whole process. We'll see how that is done. So what actually Strapi does is that it handles the API. Every content is has an API. So whatever front end you want to use from the Jam stack, or let's say, for example, you have an IoT device, you want to fetch content or you want to fetch data. So Strapi will be there to provide that data. And for the backend, you can use any type of SQL database, either be it MySQL, Postgres, or whatever the SQL databases are. Strapi supports most of them. We'll see how things are done in the later slides. So basically, it's a REST API. There is also a GraphQL API which you can use over there. Strapi will manage the middle layer, the API, the database, and communicate how the front end actually communicates with those APIs. So Strapi gives the ease of managing things very easily through its admin panels and the REST APIs. Let's go forward. Everyone knows Strapi is an open source product, and we have like more than 40,000 GitHub stars, more than 4 million downloads. It's open source, it's self hosted. That means you can host your Strapi instance anywhere on the cloud, in your local, in your data centers. Just name any server and you can host Strapi. There are lots of guides on every type of cloud provider where you can how to host Strapi on those providers. You can easily customize Strapi. With customizations, we mean that you can make your own controllers, your own APIs. You can modify the responses of those APIs if you want to integrate it with third-party applications. Everything is customizable, and moreover, there are plugins with this plugin system. What we mean with plugin system is that you can we have plugins for different type of things. Like, for example, we want to make email templates, we have a plugin for that. You want an ERD diagram of the whole database, so we have a plugin for that. There are some plugins which are supported by the Strapi official team, and there are tons of other plugins which are made by the community. So you can use them, and they are easily integratable into Strapi. All right, so we'll start with what is a traditional CMS. Uh, in the recent years, you must have noticed that WordPress, for example, has been used a lot for managing content on the internet, for their websites, and people have been using WordPress a lot. But the trend of using WordPress was initially high during like the 2013, But later on, people started to, they came towards different other technologies, and WordPress itself, which is known as the most oldest CMS available. But people began to, the curve began to decline towards WordPress. So why that is happening, we'll see that. So, 30% of the web runs on WordPress. Yeah, everyone knows that. And it is like every other person, if you notice that, every other website we see on the internet is made on WordPress. But the trend is changing. And why the trend is changing? Because the developers don't like working with WordPress. Customizing a page is very hectic in WordPress. We have to work with the core files. First of all, search those core files, then work with the database, update those, and then definitely you will break changes, and then you'll get things to work in WordPress. It's not very easily customizable. Yes, there are tools to make it happen, but yes, the performance, the speed of your website gradually slows, and that is the one main reason why people try to avoid WordPress nowadays. And it was the most dreaded technology according to the Stack Overflow 2020 developer survey. Yeah, people have been commenting very, uh, yeah, they don't like, they have gotten many dislikes. Okay, so we got to know what is a traditional CMS. Everyone knows about it now, and the new thing is that what is a headless CMS. So, what actually is a headless CMS? There are three different types of architectures in CMSs. So, one is a monolithic architecture, one is a decoupled architecture, and one is a headless architecture. So, what is a monolithic architecture? So, in monolithic architecture, the backend logic, the backend content, everything is part of the CMS along with the front end logics and the front end designs, HTML, and all the integration logics. Everything is one packaged into the CMS thing. And uh, so now the application, the CMS, is responsible for for managing the backend data, for managing the content. It is also responsible for rendering the front end, for the HTML, for the styles, for the designs. So when everything is coupled into one package, that is the CMS. So that is basically the monolithic architecture. In the decoupled architecture, what happens is that the backend is separate from the front end, but it is still packaged with the CMS. uh, for example, like you are going to manage the content, the admin panel, through the admin panel in a separate application, but that application also holds data and configurations about the front end. So when you publish your website, is also from the CMS. It will get rendered, you will get the files, but it will still be communicating exactly as how this CMS, or as this company, this product is providing the logics for the front end. Uh, Most general examples for a monolithic architecture or decoupled architectures are WordPress, Drupal, Sitecore, Optimize. So these are all like monolithic architectures and decoupled architectures. If we talk about headless architecture, so we are taking the example of Strapi. So in Strapi, we have a set of standards how the APIs will communicate with the front ends. Sorry, vice versa. How the front end will communicate with the APIs, with the Strapi CMS, and you are free to choose whatever technology you want to use on your front ends. With this, I mean that if you want to use, like if you are making an application for the web, use your own technology stack. If you want to create an application for the mobile, so you can just use your own technology stack on on the mobile apps. And even if you are making some watch OS, you have, or you have some devices like the ESP8233 IoT device. So even for that, you can just consume the Strapi APIs to fetch and post data to it. So this is the basic actually difference between the monolithic, the decoupled, and the headless architectures. So the traditional CMSs can display content on all platforms. So That's the main thing. If you have a website made on WordPress, and now later on you want to have a mobile app to have that application, uh, you cannot do that because WordPress was not made for mobile apps natively. WordPress was made only for the web. Yes, you can get the responsiveness thing resolved with the WordPress templates, but for a native app you don't have that option. Later on, yeah, they added that headless part into WordPress, but that's not efficient enough to serve everything. So yeah, later on you have a watch OS, you want an app on the watch. So yeah, traditional CMSs cannot serve that purpose. And for example, if I want to, like, I have developers on my team and I want to create my front end using React or Vue.js or any other front end framework, we cannot communicate with the traditional CMS. And now that trend is changing. We are adapting towards the latest technologies, the Vue.js, React, and things like that. So we need something new, and that's where Strapi comes in. So headless gives that power to use any front end stack, any front end technology, whatever you are comfortable with, and you can just plug in the API and get started. Now, so there are pros and cons about headless architectures. Yes, the pros is that yes, you can publish your content. It is secure. This is API is encrypted. You can go over a secure layer. It is omni-channel. With that, what we mean is that all your content for any web page, for any application. By the way, I have made tons of mobile applications with Strapi and even ERP modules with Strapi. So yes, the channel remains the same for providing content. That is the best part about the headless architecture. Yeah, and there are a few cons about it. We have to manage the server actually. You have to manage your own infrastructure. With that, what we mean is that you have your own cloud provider where you will be hosting your Strapi application, you'll be hosting your front end application, you'll be having a database over there. So yes, that is what you will be doing by yourselves. You will have to integrate your front end with the Strapi APIs by yourself. So yeah, that's, I guess, it is a con, but I would say that nowadays we have tons of developers who are doing this, and this skill has been made very easy. There is a product, if I just went through recently, Refine. So if you go with Refine, you can just integrate any API directly with it. It's a React JS framework. So yeah, most of the things are covered. Development is good. So how do we use Strapi? So it's very simple. We have, like, you run this command npx create Strapi app, name your project, quick start. This flag of dash dash quick start will actually use SQLite to create the database. And if you remove this flag, you will get the configurations in your terminal to choose from the databases, either MySQL, Postgres, and yeah, in version 3 we have MongoDB. It won't be supported later. So yeah, there's another way to create a Strapi application, and that is the starter kits. So what Strapi did is that it integrated the front end just for the ease of the community to directly get an application which has a backend and a front end already integrated together. So, for example, if you choose Next or you choose Nuxt as the starter template, for a corporate site, for a blog site, they have made some starting templates which are already integrated with Strapi, with its collections and all the relevant logics which needs. And even we have it for e-commerce in Next.js and also in Nuxt.js. And there are tons of other templates you can visit on the sites. I'll share the link in the Discord chat. So yes, yeah, SQLite, MySQL, MariaDB, and PostgreSQL are like the SQL databases which Strapi supports. There are tons of assets. For example, Cloudinary, if we talk about, there is AWS S3 for hosting your assets, and that can be integrated with Strapi Media Library out of the box. You just have to install the plugin, and yes, you get that power. For search engines, we have Algolia search. It's made by one of our community stars. And the Milli search, yes, the Milli search is very good. It gives you a lot of searching capabilities inside Strapi. And for e-commerce, there are hooks. You can integrate Shopify's APIs. You can integrate it with Magento. I use that a lot. With the payment gateways, we have the workflows. Yes, Zapier, N10, for example. And we have like official N10 nodes for Strapi integrations. And for front end, you just name it. The space was small, so I could not list all the front end technologies, but just name it and you can integrate Strapi with that. So it has a very standard process. You just run the command, it will fire up and start up admin panel. You register the user, and then you will be redirected to this admin panel. You can create collections. You have a selected fields, like for when you create a collection, you have a text field, a rich text, which actually rich text supports the markdown syntax, number fields, integers, date, booleans, uh, JSON fields. Yeah, some people, some there are use cases where we need to store JSONs over there. So yes, you have a JSON. You have UID, especially used for slugs of a page if you want to uniquely identify a page. So there are tons of fields which we can use in Strapi. This is the best part. If we have the user's permission plugin, and this allows you to manage how to which API endpoints are accessible, which can be used by the consumer. And it has the admin panel has some roles: the author, editor, and super admin. These are totally these. This is part of the community version of Strapi. You have these three roles. You can use them, and get access to the Strapi admin panel. The media library, yeah, you can store tons of data into the media library. By default, it stores into the local storage of where you have stored. But if you configure the provider, it will, like, we can fetch the data from, for example, AWS S3 or Cloudinary. Let's consume some APIs. So we have the REST API, and we can use the GraphQL API. So install the REST API just comes out of the box, is by default, and for enabling the GraphQL, you just need to run this command, and GraphQL will be enabled into Strapi, already linked with all the collections you have made. You can just consume it with the GraphQL. Yes, this we have discussed. We have lots of front end options which we can use. Now you can make, now if you have understood the concept of the headless CMS and what power Strapi is providing, you can create any type of website, either be it e-commerce. In my case, I create ERP modules. So yes, you can create content hub, you can create mobile apps, you can create any mobile watch, CMS application, just anything which comes in your mind, it can be controlled from Strapi. How do we deploy Strapi? Yes, so Strapi is self-hosted, which means you are in charge of the deployment. That means you have a server, you have a service provider, cloud service provider, and you can easily host it using our documentation guides for AWS, for Heroku, for GCP, Google Cloud Platform. There are tons of guides for many cloud providers out there. So yes, you can visit our documentation and get the guidance. Yes, DigitalOcean, most people are using nowadays. Azure, I've used almost all of these platforms for hosting Strapi. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the chat. So yes, that was about Strapi. If there are any confusions, any questions about the possibilities of Strapi and where you want to use, how you want to use, just reach out. We have like I'll just share this with you. So we have this on, we are like Strapi is on Discord. We have the official server over there. It's the community server. You can reach out to anyone in the help channels. So tag me if you want, and I'll be happy to answer. If you want to reach out to me directly, I'm on Twitter with my handle you can see on the screen. Anyone on Discord, I'm usually online if I'm not sleeping. So feel free to reach out, and thank you guys for having me today. And it was a nice pleasure talking to you. Signing off. Bye bye.
Hi, can you hear me? Oh,
Yes.
nice. So, have you tried the new version of the Strapi? I mean, the version 4.
Yes, I have tried. It is in the beta version right now, and we do not recommend migrating the production applications towards the version 4 right now. So later this month, it will be in the stable release. So we'll allow everyone to join and start the migrations. So just hold the braces just for 1 month, one more month, and then we'll start doing it.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I will continue with some other questions from online audience, because one you mentioned in your presentation that WordPress, you mentioned that WordPress is a dreaded for developers, but WordPress has very, I don't know, fast learning curve. Can you compare some learning curve of WordPress and Strapi?
Yeah, it's very simple, easy to compare. If you are going to compare like WordPress, you'll go to the tutorials how to host it. First thing, you will configure the database. That's the step one, if I'm not wrong. And then you will go towards like how to create a page. You will find a template, and that template has its own documentations of how to use that template. But if you are talking about Strapi, so Strapi has a specific set of rules that how you have to create collections. You just model those pages, and then it's done. You don't need to do anything else. So if you are just comparing the learning curve in WordPress, your learning curve is huge because you have to learn how to create a page as per the template documents. And there are tons of other templates out there. But in Strapi, creating the backend is a standard process. You just go through the docs and it's done. It just
Okay.
takes hardly 30 minutes to get the Strapi instance up and running. 30 minutes maximum.
Okay, thank you. But you mentioned one thing. It's hosting. I know that WordPress has some solutions where you can host WordPress as a service. Is there any service for Strapi, some similar service where you can host your Strapi as a service?
There are it's not specific. We cannot compare that directly like how we get in WordPress. In shared hosting, we can get WordPress just by a single click solutions. We have that in what do we say, in DigitalOcean, but the others we have it through the guides that how we have to host it.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
guys, I have one question. My question, Saad, you are Strapi community star. What does it mean being a community star?
So it's a program in Strapi where the people around the globe who are contributing in Strapi through source code, through GitHub issues, or they are talking to the community in the Discord channel, answering their questions, or they have made plugins and applications publicly for the community. So a selective few who are the best among them, they actually pick them out. The company chooses those. We do not do anything about it, and they just make it. There are around 18 or 20 to date.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Maybe we have time for few other questions. So one other from Basel. Why there is no Elasticsearch?
Oh, so for Elasticsearch, there are plugins in Strapi to integrate Elasticsearch natively in Strapi, and there is another plugin which I just mentioned in my talk. It's about Millisearch that covers the area who are not familiar with Elasticsearch directly. So you can just go through the documents of Millisearch. Or else I'll just share the link to the package for Elasticsearch inabilities in Strapi.
Okay, thank you. And one last question, because we don't have any more time for answering more questions here. If you should say one thing, what's the best on Strapi? What's the biggest difference from the competitors? One thing.
One thing, it's easy. I would say I need to pick the best line. So it's love. You cannot explain how love is. So I cannot explain actually how Strapi is. But yes, if you talk about the developer experience, it's easiest compared to any other CMS out there. It's open source. It's just a few clicks. And as a developer, we are all lazy developers who just want things to get up and running within a few seconds. So that's Strapi. You don't get that thing with WordPress. You don't get that thing with Drupal or any other CMS out there. And being it open source, you just have the ability to customize and do whatever the hell you want to do.
Okay, thank you very much.